So this salt level is 1.022, which I'm very happy with, and the temperature is 25 degrees. There's a lot of red cyano algae in here, so that's indicating an imbalance in the water and will definitely need to be treated. So with these test results, the KH is a little bit on the high side, so I'll turn the KH down. pH is slightly low but good. Phosphate's 0. Calcium is a little bit high. Magnesium is a little bit low. And nitrate is 1. Now, because the phosphate level is 0 and we're getting heaps of red slime algae, I'm going to recommend that the settings of this dosing pump, which would be set up on somebody's app, I'm going to say that the phosphate remover, I'd want to make that pretty much 0. Bioenhancer would be okay. CFA, that would be okay. I'm going to top up the magnesium now because your magnesium's running low. We need that increased. I won't bother with the alkalinity because I want that reduced, and I won't bother with the calcium because I want that reduced. So this will have to be set. You'll have to pay attention to magnesium, and you'll have to turn off the phosphate remover. Actually, I might just do that, just so temporarily the phosphate remover is not going in, because we want to get a bit of phosphate so we can create a bit of balance. Now the skimmer hasn't been cleaned in a long time, so I'll give that a clean now. Just bear in mind with the skimmer that unless you're cleaning the inside of the skimmer, which you can easily do by just turning this top, so that cleans the inside of the skimmer, you really need to make sure that's inside, which this is cleaning by turning this, is done a couple of times a week. Now the roller mat isn't due to be changed yet because there's still a bit left on there, and that will all need attention ASAP. I would also want to add some anti-red, and the anti-red will help to get rid of the red algae and keep the lights minimal at the moment too. Now I'm also going to highly recommend that we put some polyfilter into the filter, because we're going to be killing off this algae soon. Then having the polyfilter in is really good for removing any of these residual toxins. You will have to read the instructions on whatever product you use for removing the red slime, because the polyfilter may need to be removed while you're treating, but then I would put it straight back in once you've finished treating. The other thing I'd highly recommend doing in this tank as well is sending off a ICP test just to find out if there's anything else that could be involved. So that's a recommendation. The other thing I would want to make sure right now is that the main food you are feeding, I would want probiotics to be your main food you're feeding right now, because we want to keep the nutrients nice and low while we're fixing this red slime problem. Red slime is very easy to fix once you identify the imbalance and you fix it, and you treat it with a anti-red slime product. I'm just doing a gravel clean. Just going to try and remove off some of this red slime algae. Now, because this sand's super fine, it's actually really hard to siphon out the slime algae, because you've got to keep kinking the hose, because only a small amount of water can actually pass through the gravel cleaner when you've got such fine sand, or it literally just sucks all the sand out. And I would be inclined to probably let a little bit of the sand get sucked out. Then when you do need more sand, because the sand is inevitably going to break down over time and some of it will be lost, I would probably go for a slightly coarser, like 0.5 mil or 1 mil, because I'm really not a big fan of this super fine stuff. It's much harder to clean. It also goes anoxic much easier, and I'd be wanting to make sure that if this was my tank, I'd want to have plenty of cleanup crew. I'd want Strom snails and sand sifters and things to keep this sand nice and turned over, because I would not be wanting especially in sort of low nutrient environments. I would not be wanting this to go anoxic. Now, particularly with this super fine sand, if you're doing anything like a good gravel clean like I'm doing today, I would make sure that I had some polyfilter in the filter, because what the polyfilter will do is adsorb and absorb any potential toxins that can be released. Now, because there's like a layer of algae over this sediment, it would go anoxic really quite easily. And then if we get bad bacteria underneath this sand in the anoxic zone, then the potential hydrogen sulfide or any of these gases could potentially be released, and which could even kill your fish and even potentially make you sick. So I think polyfilter is an absolute must, particularly when doing jobs like this, particularly with very fine sand, because the polyfilter will pretty much obliterate that risk. So now I'm using the siphon just to go through and suck out a lot of this algae off the rock, and it really works quite effectively. You can see the algae exiting the tank. But in order to fix an imbalance like this, I would really recommend servicing or getting the aquarium serviced at least weekly until the aquarium's back on top. Then once it gets back on top, we really want to stabilize the water so this doesn't actually happen again. Because while the water is very unstable like it is now, with these test results, especially with zero phosphate, we're going to get undesirable issues like this red algae. Now I'm just starting to net all the cyano out. As you can see, after the clean, it's dislodged heaps of cyano. And that's another reason why I really want the polyfilter in there, because as this cyano dies off or gets established, then I want to make sure that the polyfilter media is in there, and the polyfilter can adsorb and absorb anything impure out of the water, including various toxins that can be released from algae and cyanobacteria. So anytime I'm doing something nice and big with the tank, I'll always like to put in a fresh polyfilter. That way I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to have an adverse action for any cleaning that I've just done, which sure has happened to me in the past. Polyfilter saved me on many, many occasions. If you're a serious reefer, then a reverse osmosis unit is something that I definitely like to see you have. Now, what the reverse osmosis unit does is separate the tap water from any impurities. So therefore you can have the RO go into a drum that can collect the RO, and then you can have the wastewater go off to the garden. And that means you're getting nice pure water for your aquarium. Maybe that PowerPoint could get stashed in there. Now these Cade tanks are great because they've got the auto top up in the back, which I've just filled up. Very convenient. Doing a water change, I'm actually blowing the reef. So I'm blowing all the cyano off the rock, and then I'll get the fine net and try to proceed to scoop a lot of that cyano out, because I'm a big fan of using your water flow when you're returning the water back to the aquarium to flush, particularly the back, agitate the sand at the back and really blow water through the back of the reef and try and dislodge any crap that might be in there. Look at that. When you clean your skimmer, it will often overskim. And I've not changed the settings of this skimmer at all. But the thing is, when you do clean your skimmer and you haven't cleaned it for a while, the way that it's set is probably not to remove a lot of absorbate, but then you clean it and then it will froth up like crazy like this. So what I'll do is just turn that outlet, open it up a little bit, and then that will just need to be checked over time. When you're checking your skimmer, you really want to be adjusting it, then wait an hour or two, then adjust it, then wait an hour or two. The skimmer is working nicely, but you'll just need to keep an eye on it. Make sure that the white froth stays inside, and the coloured froth comes out. Now, in order to scrub out a lot of these nutrients and compete with this red algae, I've put in some polyfilter that's already getting dirty. I'm also going to add some organic FX because that's a great way of polishing the water for nutrients algae. So it just comes in a nice bag like this. I'm just going to slot that in there, and hoping the water is going to pass through that on its way out. And then after a while, this will need recharging. So we've really got to get on top of this aquarium now, because with these sorts of instabilities that are in the aquarium, there's no way corals are going to go well. We need to stabilize these instabilities in order for this tank to thrive in any manner that we desire. But I would highly be recommending weekly servicing until this is under control, and make sure your fish aren't skinny. Like this fella here is very skinny, so you might need to feed a little bit more.